friends, it's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast for the week ahead, the weekly card pull for December 15th, 2023. We are coming up to the end of this year. How are you doing? What is happening? A reminder that whatever is traveling through you, whatever is happening, whatever part of your life you're looking at and going, what? WTF? WIDM? Like, what is happening? 2020. Oh God, I almost just said 2017. What does that mean? Where were you? 2017? 2023, this 7-year, like, what is happening, being activated? What are you able to access? What are you able to see? What are these last weeks of mystery doing for you in your life? I invite you to open your awareness to that, whether it is good or bad, easy or difficult. Be here now, this day, this moment, this breath. It will not come again. It will not come again. And just a reminder to speak gently to yourself, to really check your self-talk, check your narratives in terms of what's happening. You don't quite have access to the full picture, right? You don't quite have access to what it all means, and that's part of what's happening. So can you let that relax in any way that feels possible? Could you maybe even let that feel good? And at the very least, can you not shame or judge yourself for any confusion, any discomfort you're having around that? The card that I pulled for us this week is the Death card. There's a famous line in almost every old tarot book. They say this card represents the king is dead, long live the king. And when I pulled this card, I thought that so clearly. The king is dead, long live the king. And what that says to me is exactly what I was just saying in terms of like, let it go. You are not who you were. And you are not the same person today that you were yesterday. And so much of what this year has taught you is how to be more present with the true you, the current you, today's you, the lovable, deserving, worthy you. Any old clothes you're wearing, any old gods or idols you have around who you need to be, any sense you have around the way it was supposed to be, we're going to let that go. We're going to let that go. There's something about this message of the king is dead, long live the king, that is so hopeful. And I know the death card can be intimidating. Just the fact that it's number 13 freaks a lot of people out. But 13 is a magical, magical number. And the death card obviously says the word death. And nobody likes to think about or talk about death for so many reasons. And yet, it is so a part of our life. It is like the thing that makes our life life. The contrast of death is the thing that lets us look around on, for me, a very sunny day, a very bright, beautiful day, a very easy, peaceful day. And I feel the deep gratitude for what that means. And I feel the deep awe of the fact that I get to be here at all. I get to be here at all. And death is the constant reminder of that. And so much of our culture is keep moving, don't look, don't look, don't look. There's loss everywhere, there's pain everywhere, there's suffering everywhere. But don't you look, you mind your business. And so much of what's happened for many people at the end of this year is a cracking open of they all exist at the same time. It's all here at the same time. All the beauty and the light and the wonder and the awe and the joy and the love exists side by side with all of the pain and the horror and the terror and the suffering and the death and the loss. So life and death, they are defining of each other, and we can't escape that. So when you hear this energy of the king is dead, long live the king, what do you think of? What do you think of? What comes to mind? Sitting in this moment right now, I feel a lot of quiet. And even when I was starting the podcast, usually when I start the podcast, there's something on my mind. There's something kind of coming through, channeling through already. And there was a vast silence, kind of a nothingness when I was sitting before I began the podcast. And even now, as I hold this death card, I just keep hearing that phrase, like the king is dead, long live the king. And what I'm noticing is the pause, the space in the middle. Like what I'm noticing is the pivot point. You come up the mountain, you achieve what you are here to achieve, you heal the thing, you learn the thing, you master the thing, you grab the thing. And then there's that pause before you travel onto the new mountain, before you make your descension, before you make your new choices. There's something about this week that is its own pause, its own quiet. It goes back to what I was saying about the learning that's kind of circling through towards the end of this year is a learning around surrender, a learning around the choice to pause, the choice to integrate, the choice to accept what is. with as open a heart as possible. Something that's coming up for a lot of people right now is this sense of themselves, this deeper grounded, embodied, love-filled sense of who they are and how they want to be in the world. And what I'm noticing is for a lot of people in quiet, in meditation, in silence, in their own space and practice, have a sense of themselves that's new. And when they move out into the world, one of the ways you learn about how you want to be, who you want to be, is you take what you've cultivated in practice and silence and meditation and prayer and peace, and you bring it out into the world. And there's a way in which the world will ask you to put on the old clothes. The world will say to you, this is the way we expect you to be. Like the dynamic will say, this is who you are. And sometimes we're like, no, that's not who I am. And we throw off the cloak and we are our new liberated version of ourselves. But sometimes the learning is to put the cloak back on and notice just how damn uncomfortable it is. And we learn by that too. It goes back to this, that we're always learning. We're never wrong. We're never moving in the wrong direction. We're never going backwards. We're learning about ourselves, and we're learning about who we are and what we'll tolerate and what we won't tolerate and what we yearn for and what doesn't feel alive anymore. And something about going out into a relationship, going out into the world, going out into work and putting on the old suits and noticing just how uncomfortable they are. That too is a mystery. What do I do now? I know how I want to be, but I don't know how to be in the world in that way. That's the allowing too. That's the, okay, well, I'm going to take this old cloak off and here I am now. What happens? What happens? I hear that too. Like I feel that too in this card. It's such an interesting feeling around the death card. It's so quiet. It's such a quiet message coming through today. So I would encourage you to notice those things. Like notice where you are wearing old clothes, where you're like performing the old version of you, not as a way to be like, what's wrong with me? But as a way to be like, that's so interesting. It's so interesting that suit still calls me, that I still want to put on that dress even though it doesn't feel good anymore, even though it's too tight or too loose or off in some way. So there's that noticing that's coming up. And then there's just this pause. And it feels very like physics related, like the momentum is building, and then it just stops. An object in motion won't cease until something stops it. But we live in a world with gravity, and so that pull, the drag, the pressure, the gravity, the friction causes its own momentum, right? And then there's the pause. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Can you feel it though? Can you feel the rolling marble of 2023? And I almost said 2017 again. So maybe that's the momentum. Maybe that's the slingshot we're coming out of. And we're just like rolling to the top of this hill where we pause. And I just feel that so deeply. It's not it's not a message I can talk about so much as I feel. So wherever you are in your world, I offer you the pause. I offer you the pause between the king is dead, pause, long live the king. You talk about that in, I think it's in Japanese, it's a Japanese word, ma, and it means the silence between the notes. That's what makes the notes beautiful. Just like death is what makes life beautiful. It's like both and, man. We live in this universe of contrast and polarity, and that's part of what makes life so sweet, so interesting, so tasty, is the constant back and forth, the constant friction. So in this death week, it's less about the transformation, because I can feel the momentum of what is finishing and what is beginning. They have their own life, their own momentum. This week feels like it's just the pause, just the quiet, just the ma, just the beat between notes, the silence between notes, the breath between movements. Oh, I love it. I offer that to you. Notice that in your life. Notice that in your movements. Notice that in the world. How often can you pause and just be in the space between? Something about this feels really precious and very still. Like wherever you find yourself, you've worked really hard to get here. Pause, be here now, stay. Hear the silence here. Hear the peace here. Hear the quiet. Hear the sacred pulse of life seeing you and being seen by you. Something cool happening. I really like it. I would love to hear from you on what it means to you, how it lands in your body. And otherwise, I just pray and offer that there is this pause, this moment between. May you be fully present with it. May you really, really be here now. King is dead, long live the king. The king is dead, long live the king. Fascinating. Bye. It's giving everything is sacred. It's giving art. It's giving light you up and turn you on and set you free. It's giving curiosity. It's giving freedom. It's giving love. It's giving you are more magical and powerful than you can comprehend. It's giving, I don't know what's happening, but I am so here for it. It's giving you are pure potential. It's giving mystical.